computer. Okay.
You've done it. Hmm.
Okay. So, so the way I see it now, we have two classes left, then a little break of a week for Thanksgiving, and then one final class. So the two classes that we're going to do today and next week is on the theme of Anselm Kiefer and Vincent van Gogh.
Hmm.
I'm going to spread this idea to two classes, and then you're going to write again for the last class. But there'll be a break, so you'll have more time to write. Um, so the reason for this class has to do with a exhibit that took place in Holland and then again in London, but mostly in Holland, in Amsterdam, which was called Vincent van Gogh Anselm Kiefer, or Van Gogh Kiefer, or Kiefer van Gogh. I really wanted to see this exhibit, and I suggested this to Renee, who was in Italy. And Renee said, I want to stay in Italy. I want to travel in Italy. I don't want to do this idea that you have. But then I started to read about it and think about it, and I said, are you sure about this? And she said, and we had a great time. We visited um, Milan and Florence and Rome. But I kept on thinking about this exhibit, and I ended up buying the book of the English part of this exhibit. So I I have had a long-term um, involvement with both artists, and so I found the whole idea of great interest. So Anselm Kiefer, born 1945, German. Vincent van Gogh, 1853 to 1890, lived to be 37. 1853 to 1890, lived to be 37, does most of his work in 10 years and most of the most amazing work in the 3 years before he passes away. Um, so, one of the things that was very intriguing about this exhibit is that it connects with something that happened to Anselm Kiefer. And so I have known his work for the last almost 40 years, 30, maybe 37 years, 36 years, 37 years, from an exhibit of his work at the Museum of Modern Art in, I think, 1986. And
Hmm.
I was surprised to read about in his biography, he had won a fellowship when he was 18. And this fellowship was to travel abroad. And he had to have a project and take notes, keep records, and it had to have a theme. So, what he decides to do is to follow Van Gogh's footsteps from Holland to um, Brussels, to Amsterdam, to Brussels, to Paris, to the south of France. So he follows Van Gogh's footsteps and he keeps a diary. And part of that diary I'm going to read to you later, but he keeps notes about this. And so that's really quite something. And that's what propels his interest in Van Gogh, which I did not realize was from when he was 18. I didn't realize that at all. Um, so he's literally following in Van Gogh's footsteps. Um, Van Gogh is a highly spiritual artist, and Kiefer trying to bring the spirit out of the materiality which he uses to investigate the human condition. Now, I want to recommend two videos on Kiefer. I think one of you started to mention this before, but I just wanted it to be for everyone. Um, so, one video is by a woman named Sophie Fine, Sophie, and then Fiennes, Sophie Fine. That's the first video that I saw, and that is on uh, a studio that Kiefer has in Barjac, Barjac, in what John described correctly as maybe the northern part of Aix-en-Provence. The second is a film. I don't know what the difference is between video and film, but the second is a film by Wim Wenders,
Mm.
Wimwenders. And that one is called Anselm. So I've seen both of those films. I recommend them highly. And I wonder if I could ask you the favor of watching one of them before next week. So if we can have enough time, we
Mhm.
could throw that into our discussion. What do you make of this? I would say that his studio is clearly like nothing you've ever seen.
Mhm.
It is it is definitely like nothing you've ever seen, and that's to put it mildly. So I highly recommend that. Um, okay. Um,
Simon, I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you know where we can find either the Wim Wenders film? And I'm a fan of Wim Wenders, so I'll be happy to watch that, or the video by Sophie Fins.
um, well, I think
The Vendors film can be found on Amazon Prime.
you,
Mm,
will any of those demand on-demand agencies or
Mhm.
networks or whatever would have one or both of them. You one is well, they're both documentaries, but Anselm, uh, the one of Wim Wenders is maybe a little more adventurous, and it's a documentary, but is a little more adventurous. They're both terrific. Um,
okay, thank you.
okay. Um, okay. Well, I wrote different pieces of notes, but I'm only going to deal with two of them. And then I'd like to show you a whole lot of slides. Um, so for Van Gogh, for all the writing on Van Gogh dealing with his being a primitive, uh, oh, thanks. The best of his works are beautifully designed. With Kiefer, the same. Very strong design sense, on both parts. But I think this is especially true for Van Gogh. Um, and no primitive would be able to design in the emblematic way that Van Gogh does. Um, okay, so that's one statement. Um, Kiefer, his art lies between the physical and metaphysical worlds. Now, in the book that I have on this exhibit, um, there is an essay by a writer on art who teaches at Columbia. His name is Simon Schama, uh, Schama. So he writes this on kiefer. Now, in this little statement that I'm reading, he mentions a an art critic named Clement Greenberg. So um, Clement Greenberg was a very, very strong force in American art, and but he believed something which I personally find really highly questionable, but it's very strong and popular and important, but I'm not sure I agree with it. But his belief was that in a painting, the only thing that counts is what's in the painting, the colors in the painting, and nothing else, nothing beyond the painting. Um, so if you actually think of that, there's a lot of repercussions from what he's saying. So Simon Schama mentions Clement Greenberg in his statement. So you'll understand this better, understanding what Clement Greenberg is about. Um, so this is Simon Schama, slightly complicated, but one sentence, basically one sentence. On Kiefer, the reach for meaning beyond the frame, beyond the frame, is the ultimate reproof to the American essayist and critic Clement Greenberg's sterile prescription that true modern art should never aspire to be more than the sum of its constituent parts. Kiefer's art is never self-contained or conceptually minimalist. Okay, so you can understand this point of view. Shama is basically saying that Kiefer's art is about something that goes beyond the rectangle, beyond beyond the square, the rectangle, into some idea of meaning. Greenberg is saying nothing goes beyond the rectangle. It's all in the rectangle. So this is fundamentally a different point of view. So, okay, so let me show
Um,
you, let me show, yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
um, yeah. So is that Simon Schama quote from Landscape in Memory?
Uh, his book, you mean?
Yeah.
No, it's from a book that where he's written the introduction. It might be from that also, but it's a book where
Okay.
he's written the introduction to the
Oh,
catalog of Kiefer Van Gogh in London,
wow.
in London.
Okay.
So
All
he's
right.
he's putting it right out there, and it's an attack. What he's doing is an attack on modernism. It's an attack on modernism with a capital M. In other words, a restricted club he's attacking. It's not an attack on modernism with a small m, which is a bigger, more interesting idea. But he's attacking um, so-called Comintern, the Comintern which we despise in communism, which is present in other parts of our life, the Comintern. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to show you some images and try to give you an overview of this. So let me see if I can do this. Oh, did anyone have a question now? Okay. So let me see if I could do this. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
So now, um, all right. So these are two of the first images I've seen of Kiefer's work, Anselm Kiefer's work. So this image on the right was on the cover of the catalog for the Museum of Modern Art's exhibit, I believe in 1986. Okay, so now at the time that I saw this exhibit, my instinct about Kiefer, which is really the same that I have now, is that he is very involved in um, non-objective art, but for something about these pictures, it seems to me to be figurative. So I've had a discussion with a former student who didn't agree with me and said, no, but these are non-objective. But to me, they seem figurative. Okay. They lean on a non-objective base, but to me, they seem figurative. And frankly, that's why I like them. They have a subject that goes beyond what is in the rectangle. It's exactly what that quote was saying. That's why I think I chose it. I didn't think of that. So, and also, he, after the Second World War, there is very, I can't say this for sure, but I was going to say there's very little self knowledge or self revelation on the part of Germans about the Second World War. Um, in film, the beginning of this um, takes place with the director Fassbinder. So a lot of Fassbinder's films deal with post Second World War Germany and Second World War Germany and pre Second World War Germany. In terms of fine arts, oh, and also Fassbinder is remarkable, really great, remarkable. So these two pictures, when I saw them, it struck me that these were very German and very much involved with um, the destruction of Germany, especially the picture on the right, and the train tracks which go out to, I mean, you can just read into this what it goes out to. Um, that's my take. Okay. It, he's not telling you what to think about these. That's what I thought. His work is very large. So these pictures, they might each be and I don't have this right in front of me. These pictures might be each 10 or 12 feet wide, maybe even bigger, 14 feet wide. And the that's an omission on my part. That's really good to know for everything. But in other visuals that I'm going to show you, you'll see people in front of these paintings, and you can extrapolate from that how big these paintings are. So in the picture on the right, um, this is actually straw. It's not painted to look like straw. It's actually straw. And the straw is part of the painting. And he uses very high horizons and a kind of sweeping panoramic landscape. The other thing that is peculiar to me about his work is that you could almost say that he's influenced by Jackson Pollock, but he mushes Jackson Pollock into his brain and it comes out like a figurative Jackson Pollock. Uh, and that takes a lot of mushing to do. And I thought that is quite something. That is really something. Um, okay, so let me see if I can go to the next one. Oh, good. Ah, okay. So now in terms of scale, I don't have the measurements in front of me, but this is actually Kiefer standing in front of a painting of his.
Oh,
So now, if if you are a painter and you like to work on the large size, I had a visit today from a friend of mine who does art books, and we were joking about this. I was showing him a painting that I'm working on, and I said, well, he was saying, you know, uh, you need space for a painting like this. So I said, well, yeah, you do need space, but my argument for a potential collector is why do you need a bed or a bedroom or why do you need a couch to sit on? Just move that stuff out and move my painting in. Okay. That's what you should do. Okay. Now, then I said, well, if you think about Kiefer and you think about some of these paintings that are, well, most of them are horizontal. This one is vertical. So I was thinking about this and I said, this painting that I'm thinking of, well, you could move not only everything out, but you could knock down the ceiling and knock down the next ceiling, and you have enough space to put this painting inside. Okay. So, so, oh, okay. Another part about Kiefer is that the paintings are highly textured and full of material. You'll have to look up what materials he used. He uses, but of diverse materials, which are you lose in the reproductions. You lose the textural intensity and presence of the materials, but you can guess at it here. Um, so here you have a landscape that seems to push up, almost go into the stars, very celestial. So um, the curious thing about like the two paintings I showed you, which had to do with, in my opinion, I'm not sure if I'm right, but had to do with Germany and the Second World War, um, is that Kiefer's work is very German. Okay, it's not like he's, from another part of the planet commenting on Germany. It strikes me that his work is very much German Romanticism, a German idea of art, um, almost philosophically German. Um, I feel quite confident in that. Um, Mostly landscapes, some not landscapes, but a great deal are landscapes and great varieties of material and approach, very well designed, extremely well designed. So this takes you way back, way back. And the design is actually very simple, but this is monumentally big. Um, okay, so let's see if I can get to the next one. Okay, so now, um, so this is on the left, Van Gogh, Starry Night, and on the right, Kiefer, Starry Night.
Mhm.
On the left, Van Gogh, Starry Night. On the right, Kiefer, Starry Night. Now you're going to see how big this is. This is maybe 30 times the size of Van Gogh. He does this, I believe, because there is an exhibit that's proposed at the Van Gogh Museum and another museum of modern art in Amsterdam. The two museums use their space together to show Kiefer Van Gogh. And he does this painting as his answer or his response to Van Gogh. You can see all of the um, uh, textures in the kefir and the straw things pasted on against a kind of turquoise tone background. Um, I think this juxtaposition is fantastic. Um, I don't think this was in the exhibit. The the I'm not sure, but I don't think it was. I don't think this moved from the Museum of Modern Art. I could be mistaken, but that's what I think. Okay, so now if you look at the person on the right who's walking, you can see how big this painting is that is shown here. And I believe that the painting on the left is a bit bigger than the one that you see on the wall. Now, the colors are off. One has to be correct or more correct. My hunch is the one on the left is more correct. The one on the right looks a little washed out and a little red, and all the turquoise is sort of missing. But I put this in because I think this is Kiefer looking at his painting, and you could see how big this painting is. I mean, our place is the second floor is 40 feet, and I would say this painting is probably 35 feet wide, 35 feet wide, and maybe, I don't know, maybe 20 feet high, 18 feet high. This is really big. Okay, so the one on the left shows the writer and art historian Simon Schama and Kiefer standing in front of that painting, and the one on the right, I like the one on the right, but it feels to me that the one on the left is more correct. I'm not sure, but it seems to me. But the one on the right is very interesting in terms of it's a little finer. The textures are a little finer, but you can see the straw and all kinds of things pasted canvas, on canvas. Um, Sometimes he uses lead that's poured onto the canvas. And in one of the film or in both films, you can see him actually doing this. And the paintings are on uh, dollies, and he works with like two or three people, and you see him moving them around, moving the dollies around, because these are enormous, and then using all kinds of things to throw onto the painting. Uh, for instance, molten lead, uh, heated up viscous lead, he would throw on or pour on. And a lot of his attack approach makes me think of Jackson Pollock. But to me, they seem figurative. Okay. Now, I could, if someone wanted to argue with this, I would say, you know, it's easy to have both points of view. And just to go back, I just wanted to show you something. Go back. Okay, so this image I saw recently on Facebook, and below it, it said, "I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to send this to you tonight or tomorrow when I send the recording." It below this image on Facebook, it said, "So is Anselm Kiefer figurative or non-expressionist?" And hundreds of people wrote in, "Oh, absolutely figurative. Oh, no, absolutely not objective." Okay, and they all were like screaming their answers in from intelligent to very glib, uh, Facebook Facebook glib, and but with this image in front. Um, so that's an interesting point. Which is it, or is it both, or whatever? Um, okay, so here we,
Simon, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Um, would you want to describe what figurative is? What
Uh,
you,
okay, so figurative means I would distinguish figurative from realistic or representational. So realistic or representational would be more one to one. What you're looking at is what you're doing, and figurative seems to me to be more an open-ended realism, an open-ended or more abstract realism. Um, in some figurative moments, things are described which couldn't exist, which didn't exist, couldn't exist, couldn't be in the same time plane. People appear alive and not alive. It's not real. But I call it figurative because it is not it could be fantasy, it could be surreal, it could be make believe, but it's not strict. So so um um so the question is his work figurative or is it non-objective? Okay? If you can follow the line of argument. Um I think for all the different things that he does, he is he is looking beyond the um, the canvas looking beyond the rectangle to some idea of meaning. For him, some spiritual idea of meaning. And I don't think that that is a non-objective idea. Generally, maybe you could convince me, but I don't think that's the case. But
Thank you. I agree
I
with you.
wouldn't bet my house on it. Okay, I wouldn't bet on it. My instinct is that I'm correct. Is that good? Is that helpful? Yeah, Sarah.
I was, I'm just, I think I took this class because of this particular comparison of these two artists that I adore.
Oh, really, really? Wow, wow.
Yeah. So to me, the feeling that I'm getting is like both tangible and abstract.
They're both?
Tangible and abstract.
Yes, yes. I agree. I agree.
Okay.
I agree. But I use the word figurative.
Right.
Okay, but you heard what I said. You may
I did.
you may agree or disagree, but instead of it's just an inclination, that's all. And I think you'll understand it if you see even more. But I didn't realize that that was your motivation. And I hope that I can come through on this for you. Uh,
I'm sure you can.
yeah, I'll try my best. Okay. Um, okay. So I just like the textures here and the juxtaposition of the the posted image on the left and the image in in situ on the right. So the painting on the right, um, I'm gonna guess is possibly 20 feet wide. And the painting on the in the middle is part of a series of paintings that Kiefer does of sunflowers. So, in a sense, I am creating my own little museum here with juxtapositions because I wasn't there, and uh, it sounded like a wonderful, wonderful exhibit, but I wasn't there. So I juxtaposed Van Gogh on the left with the Kiefer on the right because I sort of felt some connection between the two landscapes. The the Kiefer on the right, I I'm going to guess is about 20 feet wide, and this one on the left, I'm going to guess is about 24 inches
I
wide.
can't hear you.
The painting on the left by Van Gogh,
I can't hear you, Simon.
uh, I I don't know what to say. This is I think I'm speaking loud enough so other
Now,
Yeah, I can hear you.
yeah.
now I hear.
Who
I have,
who is it who is it?
Rita.
Rita, for a moment, I couldn't hear.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great, great. So the painting on the left is maybe 2 feet wide or 2.5 feet wide, and the painting on the right, if I was guessing, is maybe 20 feet wide. Um, okay. Uh, Again, I juxtapose these two for some instinct about the landscape. Um, I'm sorry the one on the left seems a bit out of focus. The one on the right is not out of focus. Again, I think that that painting might be 18, 20 feet wide. Um, okay. And it looks to me like parts of actual flowers are embedded in the paint in Kiefer's painting. They're very well designed. Um, in terms of scale, here's the juxtaposition of Van Gogh, Kiefer, and Kiefer.
Yeah.
So here are two drawings, the one on the left by Van Gogh, the one on the right by Kiefer. And I thought for next week I would show more drawings and portraits as well. So the Van Gogh drawing, the vibrations, the movements in the sky, and the pulse that goes through the landscape and through the tree is very, very much Van Gogh. The pulse of the way the earth is moving or turning. Um, I'm going to guess that these are about the same size. Um, I wasn't sure what to match the one on the left with, and I just picked this out. Um, you can see they're both beautifully designed, and the the Van Gogh, it, his design sense is very emblematic, um, very strong designs, um, very blunt, and you could see with the kefir that he's actually adhered straw and grass and all kinds of things, twigs, to the paint. And the straw-like quality is juxtaposed with the sky.
Hmm.
It's a very interesting idea for an exhibit. Um, uh, I think very striking. Um, it, in a perfunctory way, the portraits are connected in this manner. The Van Gogh on the left, and these are, I think, woodblock prints of Kiefer. Um, I don't know who the people are, but I assume that they're historical figures in German history. Um, so you can sense the different ways they approach the portrait.
Hmm.
Again, to just get back to this idea of Van Gogh being a primitive, the design of the one on the left is striking, um, extremely well designed, very influenced by Japanese art, and very bold and eye-catching. And as big as the one on the right probably is, and as striking as uh, the impasto is, I I think the one on the left is really eye-catching. Um, I would say a personal admittance is that whenever I've seen exhibits of Kiefer, at a certain point in the exhibit, I think to myself, and I mean, this is truthful, I think to myself, Simon, this is so pretentious. Okay, this is so pretentious. What the fuck is going on here? This is so pretentious and pompous. But then I go past that and I'm really drawn in. Okay. I'm drawn in to start with. And then I always think, what's my reservation? What's my reservation? And I think of the pretentiousness of these pictures and their
You,
scale, which is
right.
not unlike the Tower of Babel. Okay. Uh,
Mm,
and I think, this is so pretentious, but he he brings me in, and he makes me a believer in this. But if I was a non-believer, that's what I would say. But I am a believer. Um, okay, so um, again, for the juxtaposition of the people with this, um, it you can sense how big this is, and I think this is probably between 20 and 30 feet wide.
yeah.
Um, the one thing that I find very interesting about this is that I like the idea that you can walk right into the painting.
Hmm.
Not that you'd fall on the floor, but you'd walk in, up a bit, and out in the back of the landscape.
Right.
You would enter the painting, walk through it, continue into the background, and leave, and you'd be in Valhalla or some other heavenly place or hell-like place. But I like the idea that you can walk in. I like that part of paintings that I've done that are large. I don't know. It's a prejudice that I have, and you can feel the texture in the two photographs.
Mm.
Hmm.
Now I juxtapose these two because of the color of straw.
Mhm.
Which maybe seemed simple-minded, but when I saw the one on the right, I thought, wow, this looks like the painting at the Met, the little painting of him with the straw hat. So I thought, why don't I juxtapose these two? And it's pretty good. I think it's not a bad duality. Um, this painting on the left is as small as the one on the right is big. Um, okay, so
It's
this
interesting.
this is I believe this is the last painting of Van Gogh, the one on the left, of crows. And a number of people have written about this, that does the painting presage the end of his life? Not clear, but it certainly is a forecast, maybe. And there's probably better juxtapositions than the one that I have on the right, but I just chose that one. And the colors kind of connect.
The road.
Well, that's so we're coming back to the beginning. So really, uh, that's pretty much what I have to say. Um, I wonder, maybe we should go back to so I could see all of you. I wonder if you have any thoughts about either artist individually or the juxtaposition of the two. I thought next week I'll go into further images of the two of them. There are many more, but I'll go into further. Any comment? Run.
I can comment. I think I think they juxtapose very well, Van Gogh and Kiefer. Both very tactile. Both were very immersed in their worlds. Where I think um, Kiefer had he must have had some mental anguish. He'd been through so much in his life, and historically in Germany, and Van Gogh struggled. And I totally get, I think, why Kiefer used the straw and how powerful that was in those big works, and how you can literally enter them. And I saw quotes from him that he was creating an environment where he felt at home. He felt more at home in his creations than anywhere else. And I agree with you that it goes beyond the rectangle. And I think that's more true of contemporary works, that often, in the past, they were so representational, you really didn't need a lot of background. But in more contemporary works, I think that they often do go outside the rectangle.
Yeah, I thank you. That's great. Ron.
I was struck by the notion of throwing lead onto the canvas. And what struck me about that is we had Swiss friends, and when they would celebrate Christmas, they would heat up lead in a spoon and throw it into the water.
Wow.
And the forms that the lead would make would give you an idea about what's happening in your future.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, go ahead.
But I'm wondering if some of the act of creating these works is also a kind of reenactment of games of work, that is a working person's work. You've got to gather all those sheaves of grain, to place them up, to throw them up, the way you throw them up into a wagon. Whether that enters into his aesthetic at all.
Well, I can't comment on that one, but the lead part, I was thinking of this. You probably don't know this, but so part of the world of Kiefer is creating books, but the books are made out of lead, and they have pages. They have pages that turn, and the pages are lead, and the books are in one exhibit that we went to in Paris. There was a large exhibit, and then there was a smaller exhibit, not small, but smaller than the large one, at the something Bibliothèque of Paris. And in that exhibit, they showed bookcases with books, but all lead. And inside on the pages of the lead pages were images of Kiefer's work. And some painting also on it. And in some of the paintings, there is a book that is being delivered from the heavens down to us, uh, peons on the ground level of humanity. The book is being delivered to us, and some books have wings, so the wings carry the books down. It's very striking.
Right.
I mean,
I read a comment.
not I'm fooling around with the words, but it actually is extremely striking. let's see if people can contribute who haven't said anything. Rich.
Thank you. Um, First of all, Simon, it's really inspirational. This lesson, it just makes me think outside the box, and I do a fair amount of teaching, so it's good. It's just one of the reasons I take your classes to
Thanks.
stretch a little bit.
Thanks.
Um, Now I have an association that maybe you can catch on to. George Innes,
Oh, huh.
American landscape painter.
Yeah, interesting.
He was a believer in Swedenborgianism, which believed there
Oh,
was a spirit in the landscape.
huh.
And
Oh,
especially his later work is very beautiful, ethereal. He's capturing something amorphous that's very enchanting. There's references to as we're talking figuratism or realism and stuff, but uh,
Rich,
yeah,
I just interrupt very quickly. I
yeah,
would never think of that comparison.
yeah. But look
Never.
at George
So
Innes.
what you're saying is great, really great.
Yeah, yeah. It even made me think a little bit, even of, believe it or not, of the later Corot, because Corot is, he's also dreamy in his,
Hmm.
think of the lake in the
Yeah,
Frick Museum.
yeah,
That's really astounding.
yeah,
Like the
yeah.
the kind of spirit of that painting is just and those kind of paintings later in his career, he's actually painting from memory. He's not painting, like from references, and it's really dreamy. Anyway, that leave that alone. Leave that alone.
So George Innes,
Yeah,
American painter,
yeah,
19th century, Inness, and
yeah.
that's
INNESS. Yes.
way out of the box from my point of view.
Yeah.
Great, great. You want to say something else?
No, just that in his day, he was considered one of the greatest artists. But
Oh
he's
no, a terrific painter.
yeah, yeah.
Terrific,
He's
terrific.
uh he's out of Montclair, New Jersey. If you go to the Montclair Art
Uh,
Museum,
uh,
you'll see a lot of artwork from him. Yeah.
mhm. Um, would anyone more want to contribute to this?
Well, this is Rita.
Yeah, Rita.
This is not quite art, but I understand that Kiefer is quite wealthy.
Yes, yes.
And wondering, he make, I think, $100 million. Did he make this off of paintings?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Say it again.
Did his riches come from the sale of his paintings?
Yes, yes.
The
Yes.
state to think Van Gogh died in poverty.
Ah, that's very interesting.
Interesting.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting. The so
Touche.
so if you want to juxtapose this, there's an amazing film that I've seen on Van Gogh
Mm.
where it starts with people at auction, and they're all bidding like crazy to buy this painting of Van Gogh. And over all of that noise and tumult, the announcer or the not announcer, the narrator says Vincent van Gogh was born this year and so forth. He died this year. He sold one painting in his lifetime.
Mhm.
Okay.
To his brother.
A-
Yeah.
And 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 you're right about Kiefer. Um, uh, Now you could see these paintings in two ways of Kiefer. One is that he has a market for these paintings, even
Mhm.
even though they are so exclusive
Huge.
exclusive to people who have that space or museums, basically. But on the other hand, you could say it takes a lot of chutzpah to do a painting of that size. It's like an egomaniac times a hundred.
Diamond.
but it really comes through. It really is
8 o'clock.
it's really serious and really beautiful, absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. And whatever twinge I felt is uh, melted away by being in this presence, which is quite stunning. I mean, it's singular. Um,
Mm.
but your point is great, Rita. Your point is great. It's so if you wanted to, you could expand what you're saying to ask if Van Gogh was successful. Was he a successful artist? And there are different ways of seeing that.
Right. Right.
My immediate feeling is yes, very.
Mm.
Mm.
I always think yes, very.
Mm.
But someone else could say he was a failure.
Well,
No.
Simon.
You understand? It's the way you
Yeah.
approach it. The way you approach it. I mean,
Hmm.
he had a very sad life and full of struggle. Um, at the very end, I'd like to try to read to you this what Kiefer says about Van Gogh. So I want to leave like
Yeah.
5 minutes to do that, 3, 4 minutes to do that. But your point
Simon.
your point is great. Let me hear from anyone else. Carol.
Simon. Yeah.
Yeah.
In I think it was 2017, we were in St. Petersburg at the Hermitage, and having gone through the Hermitage, which is so fabulous, we suddenly came upon this exhibit of kiefer,
Mm, mm,
this first ever Russian exhibit of kiefer, and
wow.
it was dedicated by him to a poet, a Russian poet, Klebnikov. And what I learned, I mean, paintings were extraordinary. They were mostly kind of war rusted vessels and things. And um, two things. One, it's weird. Klebnikov apparently had this theory that wars repeated every 317 years or something. And I'm not sure why Kiefer was taken to that. The other thing is that apparently he uses poetry a lot to kind of inform him and take him along in his paintings.
I just before you said that, I realized that I had left out from my introduction his interest in poetry. And
Uh,
in a number of his paintings, there are things written in the sky that have
mm,
to do with poems that he
yeah,
likes.
right.
Um, for next time, I'll try to find some of those poems and read them, but they're poems that have to do with the Bible, that have to do with women, that have to do with war. Um, and the combination of those ideas with his paintings seem very German to me. It seem
I think
extremely
so.
German, even
Right,
though they're a comment on the Second World War
right.
and Germany. But they seem the means seem very German. Um, the poetry that he uses very moody. It's not a joke. It's really super serious. Um, uh, Alan, what do you think?
Well, first I'd like to say the nice thing about this course is that, oh really, I've taken it several times now, is that, some of us are not familiar with some of the work that we see, and some obviously are, but it, they have such different yet related aspects in their works, different yet related, and I find that really, really interesting. for instance, like in kiefer, I don't know very much about kiefer. Of course, I've seen a lot of Van Gogh works, but both seem to me to have a movement to them, whereas Van Gogh has got like a swirly kind of feeling to a lot of his paintings. And in Kiefer, I see almost like a vibration.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
I agree with you. It's a very good point. I totally agree. I was interested in your sense of the architecture in Kiefer's work.
Well, um, I'm not sure I see the architecture,
Well, let me
unless you're referring to the design of
the space,
uh,
the
the
space.
space and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to see because who would think that that's the way somebody would show exactly what you're talking about? But it's I think I'm going to need to digest this a little bit
Yeah,
more.
no, 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 that's fine. That's fine. Um, John, any thoughts?
Well, I like Kiefer very much. I think I would like him and I would respond to him even if I didn't know anything about his German philosophy or German history. The work is very compelling.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
find it to be almost like a dream, remembered and not necessarily a pleasant dream, but it's so forcefully presented. It's like you have to keep looking, keep coming back to it.
Um,
You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I had a dream once that I had killed somebody. And I woke up and I was so distraught that, it felt so believable. But I had to, work through it and think. And Kiefer's images are, there's sort of an underlying sense of death or something there. That's this remembrance that is almost, you want to get away from it, but you need to address it to address the disturbance in your own head.
well, you're going to find these films very interesting. I would suggest seeing both of them, but if you could only see one, it's fine. But the studio that he is showing, the studio that they're showing goes outside the studio into the world in the landscape outside the building. And
Mhm.
it's acres and acres and acres
Yeah,
of stuff. Um, yeah,
I want to go there. Mhm.
yeah. Now, to go there, you need some special permission. So, and
Yes.
they only allow a few people in
Mhm.
per week or something, unless you have the magic word or
Mhm.
a club card for this. But
Right.
I had a student who went there. This was about a year ago, a year and a half ago. She's not in the class now, but she went there and she wrote to me and said, "This is like nothing you've ever seen."
Yeah.
Mm.
To me, it seemed like a trip to the moon. Okay. But you'll see that in the video, in the films.
Right.
Um,
Uh, I just want to sneak in one more
sure, go
thing
ahead.
here,
Go ahead.
just a recommendation, and many of you may have seen it. This film by Julian Schnabel on Van Gogh. The
Mm,
title is
Absolutely.
Eternity's Gate.
that's terrific. I should have said that. That's
It's
terrific.
It's
beautiful.
absolutely worth it. And Schnabel's work in general, his film work is oftentimes worth it.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie where Van Gogh is on his back in a field and he's gathering up dirt and dropping it on his face
Mm,
and practically eating it.
mm.
But he's so enthralled with nature and the environment. And it made me think of the
Yeah,
materiality
I'm
in,
glad
in
you mentioned
Kiefer's
this. That's
painting.
terrific. That's really terrific.
Yeah, it's an insane scene that had to be, I, I would have to think, invented on the spot as the actor and filmmaker just got into the character.
When you started to talk, I was thinking of something, which is if any of you don't agree with what I'm saying, and you want to say that, it's fine with me. I mean, I don't really, I find it all interesting. So don't worry about that.
Mhm.
Oh, Simon, you're wrong. This is terrible what you're saying. I I Kiefer is not a megalomaniac. He's just a man in the street. He's an average guy. Just happens to paint 27 feet long paintings.
Mhm.
Okay? Don't, what are you dissing him for? Okay? So you say anything you want. I really am fine.
Simon.
Sarah, wait a minute. I'll come back to you. Sarah, you want to say something?
Um, yeah, I'm just so excited by all the dialogue tonight. And
Yeah, it's great.
I was I was struck by that you said his work was pretentious.
Yeah.
And I had the same feeling when I went to see Julian Schnabel's paintings of Van Gogh's grave, which
Mm,
are basically broken crockery simulating the roses at his grave. But in the same token, I was deeply moved by it.
mm, mm.
Um, and the other thing was thinking, I love, and I think the first couple of classes have sort of taught me about the juxtaposition of looking at two artists, and those are some of my favorite shows that I've seen. I saw a show a few years ago in Baltimore of Diebenkorn and Matisse,
Mm, mm.
um, two of my other favorite painters. But just so many exciting ideas have come up tonight, and I think,
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead.
and I agree with John. That movie with Willem Dafoe is fantastic, and I think he actually learned how to paint. He uses the bamboo brushes out in the
Yes.
field,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's a really incredible performance.
Yeah, I actually thought that when I saw that film, I thought that and this is going to sound pretentious for me to say, but I thought he's a much better filmmaker than he is an artist.
I agree with you.
Okay, but if you don't
I
agree,
agree
if you
too.
don't
Yeah,
agree, you can attack me.
You
You
know,
I agree.
Basquiat is one of my favorite movies.
also same thing, same thing.
But the other thing that struck me in the first opening slides and remarks is that both artists, which I'm really drawn to, are able to combine beauty and pain in the same canvas.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well said. Very well said.
So anyway, I'm very excited. Thank you.
Someone was trying to say something when I asked Sarah.
Oh, I think it was me, Kathy.
Kathy, go ahead.
Hi. Okay, well, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I will disagree with Clement. If he's the one that said that the painting only counts for what's in the painting and none beyond, he certainly didn't apply that to Kiefer, I hope. The one of the very first slides that you showed, I think it was the one where Kiefer was standing in front of it, very, very high. I think higher than I mean, more vertical than the other way. But it was a painting that's going off into the distance, as many of them are. But in front of it was it a tree or something that's black that's in front of it? It reminded me of something like a German landscape with a broken window in front of it, something that's crashing down to
Hmm.
to destroy that landscape, like a bullet in a window almost. And so, I mean, his paintings certainly you have to go beyond them and see something in them. You cannot possibly look at those paintings just for seeing the straw or the molten lead or anything like that. You
Yeah,
have to stop and think.
Yeah, I agree. Len, did you want to say something? You don't. You
Sure.
can pass. You can pass. You could do
No,
it.
no, no, that's okay. I always like hearing other folks speak first. Um, so when I looked at that, when you brought up the first slide with the railroad track photo and think picture painting, sorry, and thinking about it over the last hour or so, I had the thought that one of the most beautiful things about appreciating art is when you find yourself looking at a work you've never seen before, and you know you've never seen it before, and yet it feels like you're returning. It feels like you're coming home
Mm-hmm.
to the painting or to the artist. Um, and I remember feeling this way when we discussed Chaim Soutine
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago, an artist I'd never seen before. And it was like, yes, I remember that, not because I've encountered it, because I remember it here. You know, it touches you. And
I think what you said.
that
I think it's.
that
I think what you're saying is terrific.
Yeah, and the railroad track picture was like that for me. It was like, yes, I know this.
Mhm.
I'm immediately there,
Mhm.
like in that moment. And if anything, talking about this idea of in the frame and out of the frame, you know, that experience we have so denies this idea of it being everything being contained in the frame, because our experience of it is not in the frame at all. You know, that moves physically across time, across space, across emotion, across who we are, as beings. So
Um,
I'll just leave it there.
let me just deal with the train tracks. So if someone wanted to criticize what I'm saying or my approach to this, they would say something like this. Um, why can't these just be train tracks? Period. What does it, why are you adding other things about this? All you see are train tracks, okay? And so there are other images of Kiefer's work. For instance, I forgot to say this. There's a piece that he did that's in St. Louis where um, glass is smashed and broken in the middle of this piece. I'll try to see if I can get images of that. Glass is on the floor, broken. And um, I was thinking about the image and I was thinking about German history, and the attribution said something about crystal night.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So the person I was with said, come on, you have to read this to find out that it's about crystal night. Okay. Same thing could be true about the train tracks. Okay. You have to know something to see what he's doing. So um, this is all gets kind of complicated. What's in the art or what you bring to the art. And
Mhm.
but I after I think there's something pretentious about this, I'm carried along, I'm brought along, and I go with it. So the crystal night seems it works to me, and the train tracks also work for me. But you understand that you can argue it both ways.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Well, it also depends on the artist's intent. Kiefer probably is an expansive philosophical historian and artist and morality searcher. And so he probably, if we know anything about him, which I don't, I imagine he wants us to look more deeply and more expansively. Those big, vast canvases make us think
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
poetry and
yeah,
other.
Hmm.
Whereas with Van Gogh, it's very simple. He's just, you know, vibrating in his work, and what he's filtering through his psyche and his mental uh, disabilities comes right out onto the canvas in some way. And I don't think it's connected to history. I don't think it's connected to philosophy. I don't think it's connected to morality. I
yeah,
think it's much more pure, and you could just look at the work in front of you and enjoy it for exactly what it is,
yeah. Um,
or immediate.
so uh, another point here is that um, one of the best things that I can see is on Facebook, beyond the sort of glib conversations and glib responses to things, is sometimes you'll find out about an exhibit that you didn't know about.
Right.
And
Hmm.
um, that's actually how I found out about the exhibit of um, Felice Casarate that we saw in Milan. So there is an exhibit at the St. Louis Museum of Art, a retrospective exhibit that is either on now or beginning now soon, and will go to I think next March, April, or May. And so that piece that I described with the glass and all is there. And some of the paintings that you saw tonight, paintings that are the equivalent, are there. And that actually is an interesting place to show this work because the St. Louis Museum of Art has a very, very good collection of German Expressionism and
Mm,
of Max Beckmann. Okay.
mm.
And it sounds like a really good exhibit, one that I might try to see, but a really interesting idea. Um, the reason that they have a lot of German art is that there were collectors who lived in St. Louis who bought Max Beckmann's paintings.
Mhm.
One was someone who was connected with department stores. May, I think was his name.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he brought Beckman over to St. Louis. So Beckman, I think he taught in St. Louis. He bought other paintings of Beckman's, and I happen to have visited that museum. They have a really great collection of Beckman's work and others. So it's a very good museum, and this exhibit sounds just great. Um, but I'm getting away from is
You want to
would someone else want to contribute something? And I'd like to read something at the end of this. Bruni.
I
Um,
actually, sorry, I wanted to comment on the lead somebody had mentioned because I did read a quote from Kiefer about the lead.
Okay.
And because you had mentioned the spirituality and the materials that he used, he said lead was the only thing that could represent that kind of evil, which I'm assuming was, the Holocaust and evil in general. But he said that was the only material that could represent that.
Um, I'm not familiar with that, but I'll take your word. I'll take your word for it. I'm just not familiar with the quote.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it was in the video on art and spirituality that I saw it.
oh, okay, okay. Bruni.
Hi, what I wanted to say, just two things about these two great artists. They were both interested in literature, libraries, and books.
Hmm.
Van Gogh was very interested in literature and read a lot and spoke three languages. He was brilliant.
This is
And his 900 and something letters is actually a literary masterpiece. When you,
this is what you said is something I should have said. This is fantastic. Keep going. Keep
yeah,
going.
because he's already created a literary masterpiece as well as the paintings that, and so I just wanted to just make a point of that. And the other thing is that Van Gogh had a dream about creating an art community. And I was reading that Kiefer in his studio in France, in the south of France, wants to invite artists from all over the world to come and work there.
Mm.
So he's actually fulfilling the dream that Van Gogh had with the Yellow House.
Mm.
So I love that. And I just also wanted to say that one of my first impressions when I looked at the large scale paintings, I was reminded of Jackson Pollock.
Yeah.
But in the sense that when you walk up to the paintings, you are immersed in both of them, whether it's Kiefer or Pollock, they just draw you in and you're in the painting. So I find that they have that in common.
So I want to comment on what you're saying, and then I'd like to read this. So Kiefer was asked to reflect on why Van Gogh, and I was surprised by what he said. But Bruni, you won't be surprised. I was surprised because what he said is that it wasn't the paintings, it was the writing.
The writing is
It was
great.
it was the writing
The
that,
writing is greater than the painting.
yeah, but well, that was his initial connection. So I'm going to read something to you, which is like from Anselm Kiefer, but it's like a few sentences in a paragraph, a few sentences in the next paragraph, a few sentences, a few paragraphs from there. So it's my way of seeing the logic in this. But as much as I read this, it's hard to understand what he's saying. So I'm going to read this. I think it's very interesting, and I'm going to take a shot at explaining what I think is interesting about it, but I may not be correct. Okay, so here we go. Um, so this is Anselm Kiefer writing the introduction to the catalog and to the exhibit. Van Gogh's talent was not one that manifested itself early. He did not have any flair or ease. Everything he did was hard won. He was not blessed. There was no gift, no facility. Did he eventually acquire his talent through hard work and discipline, or are his masterpieces without talent? Is it possible to create masterpieces without talent, without a special gift? So, is there something higher than talent? Why did Van Gogh give up on his ambition of becoming a pastor? Because he did not have the talent for it. Why did he not give up on his ambition of becoming a painter? Because one can be a painter even without talent. With Van Gogh, his paintings are a feast, despite everything. One believes in him. He defies all adversity. He does the impossible. He does not give up. His path from what he set out to achieve to what he did achieve is visible in almost all of his paintings. Every single one of his forceful brushstrokes is an eruption, a manifestation of defiance. Albert Camus' Myth of Sisyphus, 1942, comes to mind. Although I did not recognize it when I was traveling in Van Gogh's footsteps, this defiant determination not only to attempt the impossible, but to force it was what attracted me to the artist and continues to do so today. So, uh, if I was responding to understand what he's saying, one thing I think of is the theme for the class, which is that there is something beyond skill, beyond rendering, that is a kind of buzz or tremulation or um, flutter or release of energy or electricity that is maybe rational, maybe irrational, but that's where the key is. And I think that that's what he's saying.
think
Not
so.
sure, I'm not sure, but I think that that's what Kiefer is saying.
Mhm.
What do you think he's saying about his own talent?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What do you think Kiefer in these ruminations about Van Gogh is saying about his own talent?
Well, he goes on to talk about that. I just picked out the sentences that dealt with Van Gogh, but he is identifying with this idea. He identifies with this. Um, he says, in my works, meaning Kiefer, you can see the endless struggle, the constant trashing of results that do not live up to my aspirations. The question of whether my lack of talent shows in my works is no narcissistic fishing for goodwill. It is evident in the mental struggle and the destruction of images. I once said that only the iconoclast is a true artist, turning my incompetence into a virtue. I am unable ever to declare a work finished and complete. To me, that seems to veer off into some other direction. I thought to leave that out and just deal with how can you not have talent but be an amazing artist. That struck me as the theme of what he's saying. How can you not have talent but have something else? X, X. And I I think that X is what we're looking for. The X. We want the X. Okay? I want the X. If you go along with this, you should want the X. Okay.
X.
Okay. So we have a greeting sign now. X.
Yeah,
Um, uh, I think this is a good way to end. Um,
yeah,
I'm going to send you an email, which will be the topics for the essay. I'll reiterate the names of the films. Um,
good.
oh, and I think I can figure out how to send a link to the picture of Kiefer where the headline in the bottom is Kiefer figurative or non-objective? And you'll see a whole bunch of maybe 100 people responding by saying
Okay.
what they think. Okay. Some of it is in a kind of Facebook talk. some of it is quite sharp.
Okay.
I'll see you next week. This is
Yep.
really terrific.
Interesting. Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simon.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Right.
Good night, Simon.
Yeah, Alan, I liked what you said. I really liked what you said. It's I took it in a very a deep way, and I think that's the way you meant it. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Sarah, I also like what you said, and I'm glad that well, you're gone. I'm glad that you are feeling that way. Um, anyway, well, I'll see you next week. Oh, here's the guy on the roof. Here's my man on the fiddler on the roof
Yeah. Good night from the roof.
with a new light. You have a new light on now.
I know. Yeah, I do. Different settings, I think. There we
Uh,
go. There you
uh,
can see me.
if you fall off the roof, I'm going to kill myself.
Oh, no, don't do
You
that.
can't fall. You can't fall. Uh, um,
Oh,
take,
this is great, though. I really enjoyed it.
oh, thanks. Take care of yourself.
I need to. I need to submit a bigger drawing to the state fair next year, I think.
Oh, really? Oh,
Although they,
okay. They changed the
yeah,
sizes. Okay.
no. Just looking at Kiefer, you know,
Oh,
the
I
six
see.
foot
I see.
limitation.
I see what you said.
The
I see what you say.
the six
Yeah.
foot limitation is kind of restrictive.
Yeah, you need a 20 feet. 20 feet.
Yeah, exactly. I'll petition.
That's the right size for this work. 20 feet, maybe 30 feet, and 20 feet high.
Yeah.
Uh,
Simon, do you think that
This is great, Simon.
yeah. Ron,
do you think that the topic of talent in art is something we could talk about sometime?
yeah. I thought it was very interesting what he said. Yeah, I really.
In music, talent, I think, was the best definition of talent was speed of learning something in the musical sphere, as those people we consider talented are the ones who just have an ability to learn things very quickly. And yet it doesn't prevent a person lacking talent achieving a very high level of performance or creativity.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the same is true for visual arts.
That's a very good point.
Okay,
That's a really good point.
Thank you. Wonderful session.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
Oh, we need to go to the mayo tomorrow?
Dean, hey, Dean, I am
Oh, hold
going.
on. Okay. Hi, Simon.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care. I owe you a phone
You
call
too.
or an email. A phone call or an email.
Oh, okay.
I owe you.
Oh, okay. Great.
Okay.
Great.
Bye bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.